So what?
The first level is 10%?
Yeah, it's somewhere between 5 and 10, and everything else is 5.
And then second level and third level is 5.
Yeah.
5.
It's high. And that's actually one of the reasons that they asked me. They're like, oh, you aren't participating in like the building your team thing and all of that. And I'm like, at some point I may when I switch to just coaching other agents. But right now it doesn't really make me any difference because I have my rental properties. So I'm going to have my consistent income whether I put a lot of time into bringing on other agents or not. But for agents that are looking to have that income regardless, that want to bring on other agents, that's one of their biggest concerns. It's like, okay, when I get 20 people to join Realty Direct and I leave Realty Direct, am I going to still get the money from their production with every other company? No, you don't get it.
Okay, so, but Realty Direct, isn't that tied to an office, like a branch? Like, let's say the office downstairs. That's one franchise. So it's
that's
all
not one
company.
franchise. What it is interestingly enough, it's almost like Next Age like they know the Realty Direct model, which is kind of funny. All of Realty Direct is one huge company. When you buy a franchise, you basically get the same thing. Like you get the ability to still add agents in other states and all kind of other stuff. But what Realty Direct managed to do is that, especially I guess in this area, in buying the franchise, Wendy is our principal broker. There are now, when I joined with Realty Direct, they had one office and it was out in Ashburn. So location, number one. Number two, they only had one office and they had like 500-600 agents. So if you're not paying rent, like Realty Direct and Prudential have opposite strategies. Prudential Carruthers wants to have as many offices blanketed across 5 states as they possibly can. But a lot of people don't realize is in terms of processes and driving your separate teams, Prudential Carruthers, they own LendingTree.com. They own the Yahoo, they are the designated realty provider for Yahoo in this area. They bought that. They bought like the AOL keywords for real estate. So if you start your real estate search on AOL or Yahoo, you are automatically redirected to a Prudential Carruthers office. That's just how
So they were smart. They got in.
Right.
They positioned themselves.
And they own LendingTree.com. So if you start your real estate search with a house search or a loan search, they have you either way. So what their thing is, hey, if we have more offices in more places, then we can basically get all of the business. So they went with an office approach. Realty Direct went the opposite way. They went with an agent approach. They're like, you know what? We don't need more offices. We need more agents. What that kind of creates is you don't have more locations. You don't have the rent. If you look at the rent for the individual Prudential Carruthers offices, like just the Capitol Hill office is $10,000 a month for rent, period, before they make any money. Now they're renting the upstairs because of that. So what happens is you increase your overhead as soon as you increase your offices. Realty Direct's thing is like, hey, we'll provide you with every single thing you need. Instead of going into offices, they went into systems where we don't need to call an admin for our flyers. We order them online. It goes through a company. We pay like $5 and they show up at your house in 2 days. We don't have to pay for our posters. All of the things that you would normally call a secretary to do, there's an online company that does it. We can either design our own stuff, our websites, what have you, upload them. It comes to you. There's no issues.
So you can order as many brochures and posters and business cards without having to pay a dime. They pay for all of that stuff?
We pay for shipping.
You pay for shipping, that's it.
You get, like, I don't pay for my business cards, but over, I think, 100 in 6 months, I have to pay.
Right, but so if I order, let's say, I don't know, 500 of these open house flyers. Let's say, here's the design, here's the photos. Just do it and send it to me by Friday. They'll do it. And you don't have to pay for it?
I pay shipping, and that's it.
That's it?
Yeah. So what happens is they have that.
So when you say no fees, you mean no fees?
Right. They have the agreement with the company because what happens is Realty Direct doesn't pay rent. They pay rent for the building downstairs and the building in Ashburn, and I'm not sure, there may be one more, but I don't think so. So if you increase from 1,000 agents to 2,000 agents, but you're not paying any more rent than you were paying for your 1,000 agents, which is already minimized because they don't come to the office as it is. Most real estate offices are empty, and Realty Direct realize that. People do not come into your real estate office to find a house. They don't.
Yeah.
They do in certain locations, and that's what Prudential focuses on. Prudential focuses on Old Town Alexandria, where people walk around and they come into the office, or Capitol Hill, or Georgetown, or Uptown on Wisconsin Avenue. Those are areas where people walk around and they come into your office.
Right.
Other areas that are very driven, nobody is walking around Fort Washington like, hey, let me stop in to the Long and Foster on 210 and see if they got a list of houses. A few, but by and far, no.
It's on the internet.
So it's wasted rent.
Right.
So if they don't pay that rent, they can pay all this other stuff. Because if you would normally spend $10,000 a month in rent for a location downtown, and you don't pay that $10,000 a month, and you set that aside for agents that might want flyers or brochures or listing signs or lot boxes or what have you, you're probably going to come on the positive side, because if the agents aren't producing, you don't have to provide them with that. And you only have to provide it for the agents that are. And the chunk of what is taken out of what you set aside is not much.
Well, if everything that you're saying, that's a lot of value. That's a lot of value.
It is a lot.
Then you should be out there sharing that message with everybody as possible to
I
build
should
your
be.
team.
I should be. I'm just not. I should be.
I mean,
but I'm just not, because...
Yeah, because if all those things, I mean, like you say, if all those things are 100% accurate, well, shit, then it should be easy to pull people from RE/MAX that are paying desk fees and office fees.
And that's the thing that
Long
people...
Foster.
I tell them, I don't have a desk fee. And people look at me like, you work for a 100% company that doesn't have a desk fee.
And you get 105%. And you don't pay anything.
And my thing is, the other thing is, the only fee that Realty Direct hits you with is that your first 6 deals a year are $75.25.
The first 6 deals
Yes.
that you do a year.
They can be rentals.
Right.
There are agents with our company that front load their rentals. And they'll do 6 rentals in January and February to make 100% on their house sales. Either way, Realty Direct is going to get some money, because if you think about your first 6 deals a year, even if they're rentals, even if you rented $2,000 properties, and you got 50% of that, because they're not charging you anything above, like if you want to charge your people above what the MLS asks, then fine. If you don't, then don't. But once you do that, if you do your first 6 and they only get $250 from you, basically they've still come up with $1,500 for your first 6 deals. Really, there aren't that many agents that are going to use in excess of $1,500 in marketing materials.
Well, I mean, real estate is nothing but marketing. If you're not marketing,
Yeah, but they're
you're
not
doing
going to
anything.
use paper marketing materials. It's digital. Most people use digital marketing materials. So what Realty Direct ends up paying for in actual online orders for flyers and signs and stuff is not usually going to be $1,500. Plus, this is multiplied over thousands of agents.
Yeah, most agents are only doing 3 to 4 transactions.
Exactly.
Right now.
So most agents, if they're not getting to their full 6 transactions, then Realty Direct is getting the money from every transaction. I'm a little bit different, because they're like, okay, well, how do you get buyers that just pop out of the ceiling? I'm like, well, one, I work with mostly investors. People don't realize that when you work with investors, you run into a lot of renters. A lot of renters.
Yeah, because they want to buy and hold long term and stuff.
Well, my thing is, I get renters that are calling me about the properties that the investors are renting out. Those renters automatically, after a certain amount of time, turn into buyers. So now I get to re-rent the property and I get to sell them a house. And most of the deals I do don't even make it to the MLS. So once again, those, they involve Realty Direct, but if there's no MLS number, it goes on my record with Realty Direct, but it doesn't go in the MLS. Like, if you look up my MLS number, you get, I think, 4 or 5 rentals for this year and no sales, because my properties don't make it to the MLS. So...
But Realty Direct still adds that as a transaction.
They add it as a transaction, and what happens is after the first 6, I make the whole thing. So for agents, like you said, for agents that are only doing 6, perfect. And Realty Direct knows that. How many agents are doing more than the 6?
I mean, in this market, they're not.
And my thing is,
especially if they even if they're full time. If they're part time, they're definitely not doing 6.
right,
You know, if they're full time, they'd be looking doing 6 to 10.
right.
You know, so okay, so 75, 25, and then after on your 7th deal, that's when you go 100% on the 7th deal.
And my thing is, if I recruit people to Realty Direct, then I get 5% of what they make. But what happens is they don't take it out of the 75% that would go to the agent. It comes out of the 25% that go to Realty Direct. So it becomes 75, 20, and 5.
So when you get your residual on your first layer or your second layer,
right? Like let's just go with 5%. If it's at 5, it doesn't come out of the agent's cut. It comes out of the Realty Direct cut.
The 25%.
Mm-hmm.
So you get 5% of
their 25.
Of their 25.
No. You get 5% of the whole deal.
Oh, you get 5% of the 100%.
Yeah.
Okay.
They end up with 20. It goes from being a 75-25 to being a 75-25.
75, 20, and then 5.
Right. For every single person that you recruit.
Okay, so then basically you're getting 5%.
Right.
Of 95%. Because you get 5 of it, right?
Yeah. No, you get 5% of the whole 100%.
Of the whole 100%.
Yes. It's not 5% of their split. It's no smoke and mirrors to it whatsoever. It seems like there should be, but if that agent does a deal, the agent gets 75% of it, Realty Direct gets 20%, and you get 5%. You don't have to have been involved in the deal. You just introduce them to Realty Direct.
And the 5% stays all the way down to how many? 5 levels?
Yeah.
So on the 4th level and the 5th level, it doesn't change. It doesn't go down any.
No.
It stays 5 all the way down.
And they may have changed that recently. Like I said, I don't recruit other agents, so they may have changed that. But in looking at the best use of my time, it wasn't in recruiting other agents.
Right. Well,
because my thing is, other agents that want to do better should be looking for another company. So if agents call me and they're like, you know what, I am not making it here, you know, something's got to give, or just in the course of conversation, I'm like, why are you borrowing money from people? Then yeah, I'll let them know about Realty Direct. I'll send an email. And see, that's the other thing. I don't have to do the recruiting. And I noticed that with Next Stage, like, you don't have to do the recruiting. They have the presentation. They go over to talk to the person, Michael. I'm like spaced out on his last name. They go talk to Michael. You know, he has added consistently about 500 to 600 agents a year. So it's one of those things where if an agent is interested in switching to a better company, you send them to him, it's done.
And he's like a recruiter.
Yeah, that is all he does. So it's a team thing. You know, like you said, everybody's got their part. We have our principal broker who does agent stuff.
Right.
Her partner does training in terms of marketing, in terms of Craigslist, in terms of teaching them how to use the internet and social media and videos and all of that stuff. And then you have the person that does the recruiting. You have the person that does financial stuff. She's taken on 2 new brokers so that we have a person just from Maryland, because I guess when I started there weren't that many Maryland agents. And in the time that I've been with Realty Direct, she's like, you know what? You call me with things I never thought I would hear of. Like, I encounter things I never thought I would hear of. And so it's really crazy. But even in taking on extra brokers, it's because their overhead is not, like, they can offer you that because they're not paying any rent. They can take 20% of every deal that every agent ever makes and be fine with it because they're not paying any rent. They're not paying pretty much anything. We don't pay errors and omissions as agents, but I'm sure they're only paying but so much more for their blanket policy. Because if you have 2,000 agents, you can easily say 50% of them may or may not have any business and or 1 deal a year. So you're still going to get the 20% of their deal. But you can always reason it out with your errors and omissions people. You're not going to take a big risk because these people aren't doing much business. So they're... Yeah,
because like I could get errors and omissions for Next Age. And I would pay $900 a year.
Right.
And that would cover all of my agents. So if I had 10 or 100 or 200, it would cover them.
Right.
So yeah, no, that's a benefit. I can say, well, you can come here and there's no.
Yeah,
errors
definitely do that
emissions.
one because certain agents are paying
Right.
$300, $400, $500 a year for their
Yeah.
own errors and omissions. That was a huge two things when I decided to switch companies. One was errors and omissions because mine was $500 a year. The other one was technology fee. I had a technology fee of $700 just because they built a website for me, and I'm like, I build my own websites anyway, so why in the world would I even continue to
Yeah.
pay that?
Yeah.
So
the technology
right off the top, I
fees-
saved $1,200 a year.
Right. Desk fees,
Exactly. Errors and omissions. If you
E&O
and
fees.
you would never believe it, but there are agents that need to not pay for their business cards.
Well, no, but the,
It's
no,
something
but the
they
thing
can't
is,
always
but-
afford.
But the thing is, here's the thing. You know, most people, you know, they suck shit. That's the truth. Okay. So if you just give something, give everybody free stuff. I'm going to give free business card, free this. People got to have skin in the game.
Mhm.
They got to have some skin in the game. They got. If they don't have no skin in the game, and you just basically saying anybody and everybody come here, then one thing that you've done as an owner of the business, you've also created risk. If you just let anybody and everybody come and work under your business name.
But see, the other thing is,
But that's
they
what
do
I'm saying.
have a policy
You
that
gotta
if
be
you
able to screen
don't
people.
do, actually, what they do is they don't screen, they train. They'll accept anybody, but if you don't do at least 6 deals a year, then every bit of paperwork that you put out has to be reviewed. So,
That's more administrative overhead. Things
well,
like
no, it goes directly to the brokers. There's
But-
one for each state now.
Right.
And so, like, if I want to write an offer and I'm a new agent and they don't know if I'm able to write an offer, then I write up my offer. I mean, the market now is conducive to this. So, I get together with my client, we decide what we want to do. I write up the offer and I let my clients know. In 2 days, we'll get together again. That's when you'll sign the offer. That's when you'll give me your check. And that's when your offer will be delivered to the other agent. You call the agent, you let them know, I'm bringing an offer to you. Today's Wednesday, I'll have it to you by Friday. Wednesday, you go home, you write up your offer, you email it to the broker, he's gonna read it. And it's funny because I actually sent him one just to see, like, were they still reviewing them. I was like, look, I got an offer. It was for a property that was an estate sale. I was like, there's a couple questions I got because it is an estate sale and because there are some things that are not quite right with this property. I wrote up the offer, I sent it over to him, he sent it back within 24 hours. He's like, perfect, not a problem, don't forget to include, I think I'd forgotten the agency disclosure, which I'm like, wow, I'm spacing. So he sent it back to me. He's like, don't forget the disclosure, because I'd actually checked that I checked that I represented the sellers instead of the buyers. And I was like, I'm sorry, I messed that all up. And he was like, you know what, that's funny. And he just put a little ha-ha, and that was it. So if you're a new agent, the way they minimize their risk is that everything that you send out has to be reviewed.
Yeah, and that's what a broker's job is anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They have to review it anyway.
Right.
So
Because the brokers get paid off the transaction.
Exactly.
So that's the job, is to be the police to make sure the quality control and everything.
Exactly. That keeps them out of a lot of drama
Right.
because new agents who, like you said, they haven't been doing anything or they're not familiar or they may not have taken the latest classes. It has to be reviewed before they can have it signed by the
Yeah.
client. Listings have to be reviewed. All of that stuff has
So
to
if
be
it's a
reviewed.
new agent, let's say the guy has never done anything,
Mhm.
but they come in, they mentor under you.
Mhm.
You kind of do the first 3 transactions for them or help them with them.
Mhm.
So do you get a fee for that?
I
anything
don't.
Like that? So does there?
It's not conducive to my business to do that.
Yeah, because you're taking your time to help them.
Well, no. My thing is, it's not.
So-
It doesn't
no,
make
so
sense for me to
so
charge
let's say
them.
let's say you recruit me to come in.
Right.
I come under you.
Right.
Okay. I'm new.
Right.
I got him as a buyer.
Okay.
I'm like, hey, Vanessa, I'm excited. I got my first buyer. Here it is. You know, so you're working with me through the transaction
Right.
to make sure everything's done. And hey, go back to him, get this signed. Go back to him, get this initial. So, hey, what do you think? Boom. So it's like a mentor relationship until we get to the settlement.
Yep.
I know at some agencies, like at Weicker or Long Foster or some Remax,
Mm-hmm.
they will say, okay, you'll be the agent under this, and you'll get paid part of the commission.
Right.
So does that the same thing?
No. Because the thing is, I didn't start in an office that was like that, and when I started, I didn't realize that I was actually in the number one office. No one told me that. I was a new agent. I didn't think to ask. It didn't make me any difference. No. Even like when I first started in real estate back in 2000, Prudential Capitol Hill, I didn't realize I was with the number one office. I didn't realize that out of 1,500 agents working for the company, number 1 and number 3 in the entire company were in my office.
Hey, Miss Washington. Oh, okay. I didn't know you was here. Anyway. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no problem. And it's 12:10 anyway. Yeah. But I didn't realize that they were in my office. And they helped me for free.
Yeah.
They were like, look, it benefits all real estate agents if you're successful and you do good. It makes us all look better. And they helped me for free. And I mean, there were times when it was after 5 o'clock and I'm like, the market is, and I'm like, what do I do? And I would come upstairs and I'd be like, John, what is going to happen? Like, even in 2005, I wasn't so good at writing offers. And I would give him an offer and he was like, nobody's going to accept this. He's like, okay, look, throw this out, pull it up, let's redo it right now. He sat down, he helped me. And so I know I've talked to agents that were like, oh, my office was competitive, and I never had to deal with that. I never had to deal with agents stabbing me in the back or acting, like, oh, I'm not going to help you because you're competition. So it helped me realize that even if you're getting your 5%, why take anything more? Because it's to your best interest to help them get on their feet as soon as possible, which isn't going to happen when you're taking money from them. Yeah. So it was one of those things where I was like, wow, when I think back of people that helped me for free, I'm like, I couldn't pay for it.
And
so I don't charge anybody else.
Yeah, no, people will do that, but some companies have this
mentor
protege relationship, and it's usually for the first 2 or 3 transactions until you know what you're doing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And that's why I didn't join those companies. That was why I went with, a company where they guaranteed me that the office manager would help me no matter what, and I wouldn't have to pay a commission part. That's the whole reason I picked Prudential to start with, because they were like, look, you will get hand-holding step by step. Our manager is also a real estate lawyer, and he's also a licensed broker, and he will help you for free. And that was why I went with them. Because new agents can't pay that. New agents can't take that. Like, if you go from a job where you're working 40 hours a week and you're getting a steady paycheck to a job where you may or may not get paid, you already got a little bit of an issue. And then when people take part of your commission, you're like, oh.
Yeah. No, that's right.
So that's why I didn't go with them.
Well, okay, no, this is good because I wanted to, like I said, I'm new with this here.
Next Age is a really good offer. Like I said, it's a really good offer for agents who are at a company that works on a commission split that's graded. And where they have to, start at 50 and work their way up and take a step back. It's a really good offer for them. And it's a really good offer for people that want to spend their time solely on recruiting. And the only reason that I don't spend my time on recruiting is, like you said, most agents are lucky to do 6 deals a year. And my whole thing is, if I recruit 1 a year, I'm good. If I run into one person a year who's like, I hate my company, I need some help, what
they do is they want you to spend 80% of your time on producing.
Right.
And they want you to spend 20% of your time on recruiting.
Right.
So they understand you have to produce, that's number 1. Number 2 is you have to recruit.
Right.
So their goal thing is, if you can recruit, let's just say 10 people in 12 months, but your main focus is, generating business, doing business is your main focus. But the recruiting aspect of it, so let's just say this guy does 2 transactions, he does 1, he does 5, or whatever the case is, but you got 10 of these suckers.
Right.
Overall, let's just say they end up doing 25 transactions overall, right?
Right.
But now you're still making your money here because you're still doing your core thing.
Yes.
But now you're also spending Saturdays, weekends, an hour or 2 a day, just trying to build some stuff. But now you got this additional income that's coming in, and that's the model. It's like, do what you do best. Deal with your buyers, deal with your sellers, make the transactions happen, bring in the money so you can survive.
Right.
But also spend some time building your team.
Right.
So it's not all dependent upon you, but now you have income coming in from them as well as you.
Right.
So if these people could bring you additional, $500 or $1,500 a month based on their activity, that's still decent money for not doing anything.
Yeah.
But you're still doing your thing. You're still dealing with your buyers and your tenants and your landlords. You're still building your database. You're still working with your investors. But also, that 5 goes to 15, 15 goes to 2,000, 2,000 goes to 25. That's where this money comes in.
Mm-hmm.
That's your Vegas money.
Right.
That's your money to go to North Carolina. So
I financed that boy's little adult company. That's gonna be my Vegas money.
But that's where the biggest added value is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, because this company is new in so many ways, that they're open up to a lot of technology.
Right.
So everything's through the back end.
Yeah.
So you actually get a system that everything you talked about in terms of business cards, marketing flyers, they have companies in places already.
Yep.
You could call them and say, hey, I want these flyers, but you have to pay it.
Okay.
It's not free. But I think that maybe like the first 25 or something are free. But if you want 1,000 of these, then you got to pay something.
And I do know that Realty Direct does that after, like if you haven't done a certain amount of deals, then they do kind of say, okay, well, your first whatever. But like you said, it's all in the back end. They had a little templates, and I'm like, even my mom could operate this stuff, so I'm sure it's easy.
And that's what they've done. They've made it easy for us. And you're right, you're not going to get the new people. Now, the new people that don't have any money at all, well, they could be referral agents. They could start recruiting and start getting $300, $400, $500 a month, because they may end up bringing in a superstar. And he may end up bringing somebody, and all of a sudden they got $500, $600 a month coming in. Now they got the money to go live as an agent. And they can pay their dues. And now they're doing transactions as well as developing their team.
Right.
So there's different ways of doing it. But for me overall, I thought, I looked at the Exit, I looked at the Remax, I looked at the Long and Foster, I looked at the different models. And I really like this model in a lot of ways. I did not look at the Realty Direct.
That Next Age is actually the closest model I've ever seen to Realty Direct. So apparently Realty Direct model itself was slightly ahead, because Next Age is now, it's interesting that I'm with Realty Direct. So to me, Next Age is very much like them. And I think they will evolve in time with more money and things like that to be closer to Realty Direct than to be closer to Remax and the more traditional companies.
Yeah.
And I think that the more traditional companies are going to evolve into this model.
They have to.
Especially in terms of...
Because the brick and mortars, you said it, they're going away. Nobody's in the offices.
Right.
Agents don't come in. Agents work off of the virtual networks.
Right.
So those models are dying out.
Yeah.
And that's why models like this exist, and they're getting fast. Like I think it was the National Association of Realtors. They made the list of one of the fastest growing franchises.
Yeah, and they definitely
So they're growing. They're getting
right. Because agents don't need a desk; they need a conference room and a copy machine.
And
like they got a desk at their house, and honestly, I prefer to work at my house because of the tax incentives.
Yeah.
So like I can deduct my electric bill if I work at home. You can't deduct your desk fee most of the time.
I really appreciate you coming in, because I really wanted to understand. And you gave me a lot of feedback, which I appreciate that, because I'm just trying to put it all together in terms of my investment world, my training, my coaching, bringing on the agents, what the agents need, what the agents are looking for, how to make it attractive for some of them to come on, but also not to give away the farm, but to give them enough where they have to have skin in the game as well to come in.
Right.
Because there's a lot of value that I'm adding to the Next Stage by tying Brickfront properties to it. So if you look at what Realty Direct does, and then you look at what Brickfront Property does, we're two different companies.
Yeah.
But if you look at what Next Age does and what Realty Direct does, they're pretty similar.
They're very similar.
So then if you take if you take Next Stage and Brickfront, you tie those two together, now you just added a whole bunch of value
to
this area, which Realty Direct or Remax they don't have.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to generate to show that
I guess one
agents
of
and
my
brokers.
questions is in terms of lending. Like, does Next Age have a built-in lending resource? Because you kind of want to find a lending resource for your agents. Like, my thing is Realty Direct's preferred lender that is assigned to us is Bank of America. not my first choice, which is why I work with someone else. I work with Westtown up in Bethesda because they have underwriters right in the office, and if my clients are denied, they will actually let my clients have a meeting with the underwriters to find out why and what they can change. And I really like that. Bank of America's never going to do that. Their underwriters get death threats. So like, it's not a job I would take. But that's something that I would also build in for your agents, is because new agents don't have a lending resource and they have no idea who to call or who to work with.
In terms of referrals, like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, SunTrust. I mean, we have like 6, 7 companies that are not tied to Next Stage.
Right.
But we say, here's companies that you can go and talk with. Here's the people we work with, these loan officers, they're good. We could do something. That's what we do now. We have relationships like that.
Like just in terms of, well, like.
But not internal relationships with Next Stage. They're not.